everyone. This week for Tuesdays with Miss Tampa, I am talking with Miss Florida 2006 and ultimate girl boss. She is an incredible mentor and a lady in so many facets of endeavors and incredible things. So I'm so excited for you to get to hear everything she's up to. Hello, Allison.
Hi, Leah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. First, can you start off by sharing a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you've been up to these days?
Well, it's definitely stayed busy. I'm in Orlando. I've grown up here. Swore I would never actually come back, but I just continue to move closer and closer to my parents, which is interesting. But I love Central Florida. I went to the University of Florida. Go Gators! Absolutely loved my time there, and have been in the Central Florida area now, gosh, over the last 10 years since I've moved back. But I work for Advanced Recovery Systems. I was one of the first people hired back in 2013, and we are a behavioral healthcare company, and we've continued to grow and scale outside of the state of Florida. But it's been an incredible journey. So that's what I'm up to now. And I also have a consulting company too that I absolutely love and enjoy.
Yes. So, as Florida 2006, can you share more about that journey and how you got to the Miss America stage?
Absolutely. So, I was very focused on achieving that goal. It did not happen on my first run. It was actually my fourth try to become Miss Florida when it actually happened. And it was just an amazing experience. I think the difference between that year and the years prior were, of course, like I wanted it before, but I didn't realize all of the work that needed to be put in to get to that point. That last year, I really doubled down on me, right? I did everything that I needed to do to be able to come out on top and really focused on the areas that I needed to improve. It was an interesting year that year. There were actually 11 of us that got food poisoning during competition week. And so we were hospitalized and the whole 9 yards. So talk about really like rattling, like it was really one of those situations where you had to focus and you had to put your blinders on and realize why you were there and what you needed to do. And so thankfully it all ended up working out. And I was one of the girls that got to compete in Vegas instead of Atlantic City or Connecticut. So, we went to Vegas in January and just an incredible experience. I'll never forget walking on that stage and having a dream realized. And for me, that was such an amazing experience to have at a young age, to realize that when you work hard towards something, you can accomplish it. And, the outcome might not be what you want it to be, but the process and the journey is really what helps to shape you into who you are. So grateful to have had that year and had an amazing year of service as Miss Florida.
Absolutely. And you said you competed for 4 years. You easily could have said, maybe this isn't for me, or gave up after the first year. What made you keep going, and what advice do you have for young women who maybe don't win on their first year?
No, I mean, it really could have been. My first year I was Miss UF. I had a great experience. I made top 10. Like I checked a lot of the boxes that I had goals, the goals that I set for myself that year. But there was something in me that realized that it wasn't just about becoming Miss Florida. It was about being the best I could possibly be. And I'm a lifelong learner. I am a huge advocate of constantly getting better and better and better. And I realized that this was an area and an avenue that I could participate in that would allow me the opportunity to develop quickly and rapidly on the personal and professional side, right? Like when you're working towards a goal, especially at that age and that range of years, you're setting yourself apart, right? You're constantly improving. You're giving yourself opportunities that you might not necessarily have otherwise. And I really loved that. I loved having an opportunity to make a difference in my community, to amplify my voice. And so those were the areas that I was like, wow, like so much got accomplished, and it was elevated and magnified because I was involved in the Miss Florida organization. And so that really kept me coming back. I will say I did 3 years, and by the end of the third year, I realized that I almost was trying to be something that I wasn't. And so I actually pushed pause and I took off the 2005 year from competing at Miss Florida in the America system, did a refresh, reset, came back as me, right? Like 100% me, in alignment with what I wanted to do, who I wanted be. And it worked out, right? So I think it was really important too for me to take that year and to say, okay, I think I'm trying too hard to be what other people want me to be. And I need to come back as 100% myself if I really want to do this the right way. And that's what made all the difference. And so I'm grateful for those experiences. So while I competed 4 times, it was over the course of 5 years. And I think that made all the difference in the world at the end of the day.
That's so important. And as Miss Florida, your platform was focused on the prevention and awareness of eating disorders. I think right now we are such a digital world, and especially during quarantine, it's really easy to be on social media all the time, and we're flooded with the unrealistic photos or the photoshopped images. How can we help young women develop healthy lifestyle habits when we're always exposed to these, digital photoshopped images?
I think we have to be very conscious viewers of the media and all forms of media, especially social media, right? Like it's definitely the highlight reel. It's not reality. And so always looking at it through the lens of the fact that these images might very well be edited rather than like, oh my gosh, they're perfect, right? So, thankfully back in my day, the filters weren't easily accessible. It took a lot more work to edit things on Photoshop. You actually had to like open the program and do it, so now it's just swiping and everything is so easily edited. And so I really, really, really encourage everyone, not just young women, but people of all ages and stages of life and phases, to really look at it and say, this probably isn't exactly what it seems, and take away the good things, but don't, tear yourself apart in the process. We are our own worst enemies when it comes to that. And I think it's really easy to start comparing yourself to everybody else. And what you really need to do is take any energy that you're doing and you're spending in that area and focus it on improving you in the right ways, right? So from the inside out, because I do feel that there is such an emphasis on trying to look and be perfect still to this day. But what is refreshing is that we're seeing a lot more people being celebrated for being authentic and genuine and real and raw and unfiltered. And the more that we can put those messages and those images out, the better.
I love that. And what is your biggest piece of advice for young women in the system that are committed to competing even throughout the quarantine and all of this craziness?
Well, first of all, I give everybody major kudos for sticking with it, right? Like this is a difficult time, especially for everybody that's involved. You're used to working towards a goal with a defined timeline, and everybody's had to stay flexible and actually commit for a longer period of time than maybe what they were anticipating. So major kudos for sticking with it. When I see time be given back to people, which is what happened, right? So a lot of people were anticipating competing this summer, and they were gifted, in some cases, another year until that happens. That is truly a gift. And so maximize it, right? Like take the time to map out where you want to be, the goals that you want to accomplish for yourself, and don't use this pause as an excuse to not get things done. If ever, this is an amazing opportunity to get a lot of things accomplished, because rarely do you have this time to reflect, to refocus, to pivot, to really put things in motion. Even right now, school's out for the summer for the most part, right? Like some people might be taking summer classes, but it is a really great opportunity to lay the groundwork, because you might have been able to say some really great things have been accomplished by this time if the competition was still happening. But fast forward from a year from now, you want to be able to say, I did all of this since then. And I think that's where, if you really make the most out of each day and you're very focused and you just do at least one thing per day that's going to get you closer to those goals, you're going to accomplish so much in a year that you're going to be blown away. And that's for anybody. That's not just people that are competing. That's people in general right now. Pivoting and refocusing is such an important thing to do. And this is a great opportunity to put some time into yourself and where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. And I always like to refer back to the quote from you, actually, and it's try to do something each day to make you 1% better each and every day. And it's really true. If you commit to that, you really can improve over the long run.
Absolutely. And it's 1% isn't an overwhelming ask. I think so often people are like, I have to be so much better now than I was before. It's like, actually, consistency compounds, right? So if every single day you're becoming 1% better than you were the day before, your baseline now is already higher than what it was before. And so think about that over the course of a year or even 6 months, 3 months, right? Like daily incremental growth will continue to pay off and to compound and to allow you to have even better experiences, opportunities, make you that much more prepared. And that's all you have to do. And scheduling that time, being intentional about it, and not spreading yourself too thin and in too many different directions, right? Focus on a goal, keep getting there, keep acquiring new skills, keep being better. If you're doing something repetitively, right? Like look at each opportunity to reflect and say, what could I do better the next time? And that's the whole process, is becoming the best version of you, right? And so it's exciting to see young women like yourself and many others that are committing to living by that rule, that 1% rule.
So post Miss Florida, you mentioned you now work for advanced recovery systems, educating and treating those about addictions and mental health. Can you share more about what ARS does and its available resources for everyone?
Absolutely. So Advanced Recovery Systems is a behavioral health care company. We started about 7 years ago. And it's been an amazing experience to be able to help people every single day and to save lives. And that's exactly what our mission is. And so we have inpatient treatment centers across the country. We focus on adolescent and adult substance use treatment and now mental health as well. But it's been really great to be able to help people in their unfortunate circumstances, right? Like addiction is not a moral failing. It's a situation that happens and presents itself for a lot of different reasons, whether there's been triggers, whether genetically predisposed and you get prescribed something that you weren't anticipating, having a certain dependence form as a result. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen is the importance of talking about it, right? There's still such a stigma when it comes to mental health. And we have to get out, we have to change the narrative and realize that we can do something about it, right? Like we can absolutely change the course of your life or our lives if we make that commitment to. And if you're struggling with something, get help early on, because when individuals come to us primarily at Advanced Recovery Systems, they're checking in for a residential treatment stay. Their lives have become unmanageable. There are so many great clinicians and providers in our local communities in which we can connect with and start to have a dialogue early on about the concerns that we're having about our own mental health, because that's where the conversation needs to start before it gets to the point that they need to go inpatient. And of course, those resources need to be available too. But my goal is that people connect with people sooner rather than later so that they can prevent their lives from getting to that point. It's really sad to see so many folks that have said, I was just too ashamed to come forward, or I didn't know who I could go and talk to. And as a result, I just buried myself in my addiction and my substance use or with my issues. And that's the hardest part for me to hear. But the good thing is that there are so many wonderful resources and that people are talking about this a lot more frequently. And, through Real Talk, which is the program that you've now been involved with, this is your second year, it gives us a chance to have that dialogue with students too, because kids need to have an awareness of what these substances are and the magnitude and the impact that they can have on their lives. It's not just about having fun at a party and sampling whatever your friends are sampling, right? Like that can have absolutely horrific consequences on your life. And making the right decisions from the get-go and also being mindful of the situations and circumstances can really change the trajectory of somebody's life.
Absolutely. And it is really important for teens to have that information before they are put in these situations and they can handle themselves responsibly.
Absolutely.
Now, anyone who knows you are an incredible boss lady and you mentor so many young women to achieve their goals. For college-age women, if you could go back and tell yourself when you were in college some advice or something that you've learned along the way, what would you tell yourself?
There's a lot of things actually, but I think if I can really isolate a few key points, I was very hard on myself, right? Like I would almost hold myself back because things weren't perfect or exactly the way that I thought they needed to be, rather than just going for it. I let fear paralyze me a lot, which I'm sure a lot of people don't think that based on where I'm at now, but I let a lot of other people's opinions dictate what I did. And that's no way to live, right? Like I look at every single day as a gift and an opportunity, as we've already discussed, to be better than what I was yesterday. And that's really what I try to promote in all areas of my life. But that wasn't necessarily where I came from. I was always very competitive. I always like to win. I like to have success and accomplishments along the way. But I can really identify a lot of things I didn't go for because of my fear of what other people would think. I think there were businesses and opportunities along the course of my career that I would have started even earlier had I had a little bit more confidence in myself. And, I think this is your life, right? You have one shot to do what you want to do. And if what you're doing now or the path that you're on now doesn't light your soul on fire, you might want to consider a different path, because you don't want to spend years and decades doing something because somebody else told you to do it, or that you think you have to do it, or you don't want to disappoint somebody, or you want to be a people pleaser. That's not the way to live. The moment that you really step into your true light and you start living on purpose and you do what makes you happy, your whole life will change, and it will impact so many different areas too. It's not just about what you do on the 9 to 5. That carries over into the rest of your life. So always have something that you're working on that lights your soul on fire, that you're passionate about, that makes you feel just so inspired to get up and do every day. And, right out of college, you might not get that dream job, but always be working on you and doing what you need to do to get closer to where you need to go. I think one of the best things that I've committed to since the very beginning is learning, right? Like if I don't know something, I'm going to figure out how to know it sooner rather than later, right? I'm going to take the course. I'm going to watch the video. I'm going to invest the time, energy, and effort in myself. And as a result, all of those skills and all of those things that I've learned over the course of the years have come together. But I could have easily sat there and said, what, I don't know how to do that. That's too hard. I'm not sure that, it's even going to be useful. And at the end of the day, it's so crazy now when I can look back and say, like, all of these random things that I had a thirst to know and want to learn have all brought themselves together and have allowed me to be where I'm at right now and to be able to use all of those tools and skills. So don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to change course, and constantly invest in yourself.
So good. So good.
I can just keep going. I love all this stuff. So.
Talk about it for days. It's so inspiring. And now, as Miss America embarks upon its 100th anniversary, what do you hope to see for the organization? And what do you say to people who ask if Miss America is still relevant today?
Absolutely. I think it is relevant. Camille has been an incredible Miss America. And for somebody whose year was kind of put on pause, she had to pivot quickly, right? And say, how do I make the most out of this year? I find her to be incredibly relevant. Of course, her social impact is very much in alignment with what we do at Advanced Recovery Systems. So it's been a true pleasure and honor to align our organization with Miss America to be able to partner and spread a message that needs to be spread. So I think that when people take a step back and they realize what the job of Miss America actually entails and what she's able to do during the course of her year, that's what makes her relevant. To be able to lend her voice to different organizations and businesses, to be able to promote like-minded missions and causes, that's powerful. And, Miss America many years ago was a spokesperson and had amazing partnerships, and Miss America now has that opportunity, and there's been some great things that have been released over different partnerships and things that they've been able to secure, and I want to see more of that, because this organization in particular is a game changer. And as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to finding an opportunity, especially as a young woman, to put yourself in a position to constantly learn, grow, develop those skills, this gives you that, right? And I can't think of any other opportunity for young women, even the teens, from, if you think of the 13 to the 25-year-olds that are involved in the Miss America and Miss America's Outstanding Teen Organization. This is an opportunity for you to use your voice and to learn things and to experience things. And that's relevant. And, when I look at the young women that I've had the opportunity to mentor over the last decade plus, all of them are doing incredible things. And every single one of them will give credit to the time spent in the Miss America organization and what that did for them, whether it was public speaking, whether it was interview skills, whether it was branding, packaging, right? And every single one of them will say, I was more prepared to enter into my professional adult life as a result of my involvement. And that is relevant, right? And from an employer perspective, right? I've hired many girls now that have competed in the Miss America organization and love the Real Talk program that I get to work with so many more. But it's because this organization prepares you so well, and it gives you that polish and that level of preparedness that not a lot of other organizations do so at this stage of your life. And so if more companies and more businesses, more organizations would look at the Miss America organization through that lens and say, wow, I want to hire, book, work with these young women because I know the caliber and the quality of what I will get as a result, I think more organizations would end up partnering, because I've never, knock on wood, had a bad experience with young women involved in this. And I hope more companies take advantage of the opportunity to align themselves with a generation of women that are so focused on making great things happen in this world. And that's really my hope. So I think it's incredibly relevant. I love this organization. I credit it so much for my success and where I am today. And, I think it's just such a wonderful springboard for the future.
Absolutely. And now the last thing, how can people keep up with all of your adventures and all these cool things you are doing on social media?
Absolutely. So you can follow me at Allison Walsh or at Allison Walsh Consulting. I provide daily inspiration. That's my way to get up and start the day right, is to get those posts lined up. And I've really made a commitment to showing up for that community and really lifting people up. So that's definitely the way on Instagram, AllisonWalshConsulting.com. And then, of course, AdvancedRecoverySystems.com. And if anybody out there is in need of help or resources or guidance, don't hesitate to reach out. I love to be of assistance. And thank you, Leah, for having me on this show today.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure and so inspiring whenever I talk to you. You also created a podcast recently, which I encourage everyone to check out because it's really incredible.
Thank you. Yes, the She Believed She Could podcast. And again, it's spotlighting amazing women and what they're doing in the world today. So I'd love for you to check it out.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.